Hey everybody, welcome today. My name is Emily Paul. I am a BCBA here at Springbrook. I am also a certified Mandt trainer here at Springbrook. So today we are going to talk about anger, kind of the in and outs of anger, if you will. And we're going to use some ABA terminology and strategies as well as utilizing some of the Mandt principles and strategies. The first thing we're going to talk about today is anger and where does it come from? If we think of emotions as primary emotions and secondary emotions, then anger is a secondary emotion. Anger is an emotion that comes after we felt a different emotion. Okay, so our list that we have here includes fear, embarrassment, shame, frustration, helplessness, loss. There's probably more that are not listed. And what happens is something occurs that makes us feel one of these things, and because of that, maybe this leads to us being angry or being in a state of anger, feeling angry, right? So if we kind of think on a few scenarios, so if we think of, let's say we are at a red light, we're in our car, we're at a red light, we are turning right. This particular red light has a sign that says no turn on red, okay? We look across the intersection and we see an officer in his car in a parking lot across the street. So we determine that we are not going to turn on red, right? It's illegal, it's against the law. There's a sign that tells us not to. There's an officer sitting ready to pull us over if we were to break the law. So we're not going to. However, somebody pulls up behind us and maybe they don't see the sign or they don't see the officer. Maybe they just don't care. We don't know, right? We're not in their vehicle. Maybe they're in a rush for a very genuine reason. Maybe their wife is in labor in the passenger seat. We have no idea, right? However, they're honking at us. They want us to go. So we become frustrated, right? Maybe irritated a little bit. We're not going. We can't go for all of these reasons, right? Maybe we're also frustrated because maybe we're having some financial hardships and getting a ticket is just absolutely not something that we are able to do. It would break us financially, right? So we have all of these things working against us, and this person is continuing to honk at us from behind. So we get frustrated. If we have to sit there for very long and they start honking more and more and more, we're probably going to get angry, right? We're going to feel angry about the situation. Another scenario that we could think about, and I think a lot of people can either relate to or have a mental image of, is let's say that we are going to the grocery store and we are taking our child or our client with us. So prior to going to the grocery store, we're going to use every strategy that we have been taught to make this trip successful. We're going to have some sort of first then visual with us. It's going to say first grocery store, then iPad in the car. We have reinforcement in the form of the iPad ready to go. You know, we had a visual schedule for the day that had the grocery store on it. We counted down to the grocery store. We gave cues in advance so that our child or client was ready for this trip. We were ready to go. We get to the grocery store. We're feeling hopeful. We're excited. This is going to be great. And we're walking around the grocery store, and our child or client sees a box of macaroni and cheese that is their favorite character. Let's say it's Paw Patrol, okay? So we have a request, right? I want Paw Patrol mac and cheese. That looks so cool. I love Paw Patrol. Look, Chase is right there on the box. I want it, okay? For whatever reason, we cannot get that today. Whether it's related to the budget, right? If we buy that, maybe we also have to buy milk. It's outside of what we can afford today. Maybe we can't buy it because maybe there's a food allergy in the house and mac and cheese is not something that we're able to eat. Maybe our child or client doesn't actually like macaroni and cheese. They just really like Paw Patrol and they don't really, have knowledge of what's actually inside that box. So for whatever reason it might be, we have to say, no mac and cheese today. Sorry, buddy, maybe next time, or Maybe we can add macaroni and cheese on our meal list for our next week. Or maybe we can explain that there's something in there that we can't have in the house for whatever allergy reason. Or maybe we explain what's inside the box simply from the perspective of, buddy, I don't think you like this, right? However, the heart was set on it, right? The heart wanted the Paw Patrol mac and cheese. The heart's not getting it. So we're crying, we're screaming, we're yelling. Maybe we're cursing. Maybe we're hitting. Maybe we're throwing boxes of macaroni and cheese, right? Whatever it might look like. So we are frustrated. We are frustrated because we think that we tried everything, right? From what we were knowledgeable of, we did all the things. We used all the strategies, right? We did everything we could to prevent this. We're frustrated. We might feel helpless, right? I'm alone. I'm with this child or client, and now they are all kinds of upset because of this box of macaroni and cheese, right? We look around and we start to see other people, other families, other shoppers looking at us, right? Employees looking at us. We're embarrassed. We feel horrible, okay? All of these things collectively piling onto us might take us to a place of anger, right? Naturally, it's a natural progression of emotions. So now we're angry. And if that anger is able to get control of us, that's when we might do something like yell at our child, right? Or take them by the arm and just whip them straight out of that store. We're leaving all of our groceries behind, right? And those are things that happen when we get angry. And that's okay. Anger is okay, right? But what we want to try to do is recognize when we start feeling the embarrassment, the frustration, the helplessness, what that feels like, so that we can get control of the anger before the anger gets control of us, right? If we are able to get in control of the anger first, that's when we might be able to say, okay, just like I had strategies for getting to the store, I have strategies for how to deal with this tantrum inside the store, right? And then we know what to do next, and we're able to get control of it. Maybe we have to wait it out. Maybe we're just going to sit there and watch them scream, and that's okay, right? Maybe we know that they're allowed to have a little setback, but still get their iPad reward, right? We don't expect perfection. We accept it. We want a good attempt. So maybe we're able to distract them with something like, oh, let's get back on track for the iPad. And maybe it will work. Maybe it won't, right? A visual if we have one, or whatever it may be. But if we're not able to get control of the anger before the anger controls us, we're going to miss that opportunity. And that's really hard to do, right? We can talk about these things, and, it sounds great when we're just saying it out loud and everybody is calm and at baseline, but these things are really hard. So we really have to think on it. We really have to work on it. And that's us. That's us as the grown adult of this situation, right? So if we think about it from that angle, if it's that challenging for us to do, can we imagine how challenging it is for our clients, for our kids, right? It's going to be 10 times harder for them. They haven't had a lifetime of experience to work on this. So we want to watch for these primary emotions that are going to lead to that secondary anger, right? Once we identify what those are, then we have more strategies that we can use. If we think back to the last time that we were angry, whenever that was, right? And we think about what we were feeling. So the scenarios we just talked about, right? In the scenario where somebody's honking behind us, we had some feelings of frustration, right? We were irritated. The situation in the grocery store. When we first got to the grocery store, we were actually feeling hopeful, right? We were excited. Once we started seeing our client getting frustrated, we got frustrated, right? We might have felt helpless. We talked about that. We talked about, embarrassment, people watching. That's what we felt before we felt angry. Once we were angry, how are we able to communicate, right? At the red light, that level of anger, we were probably in control of that anger. But if we didn't, if we sat at that red light longer and longer and longer, and they honked and they honked and they honked, and the anger took control, and let's say we, put a middle finger out of our window, or we kind of cussed at them or yelled something out the window, or even, bigger, we get out of our car, right? We let our anger take control so much that we are out of our vehicle and we are in an altercation with this person, right? If we're in that state, how are we communicating? We're really not communicating at all, right? That conversation is not going to go anywhere. It's probably just going to be a bunch of people yelling at each other. In the grocery store, if the anger gets control, are we communicating well? No. We're grabbing our child or our client and we're getting the heck out of that store, and we don't care who watches us on the way out. We are leaving, right? If somebody stops and tries to have a conversation with us, that conversation is going to go nowhere. We're going to say, get out of our way, and we're going to leave. Same for our clients, same for our children, right? When they are angry, when they are in a state of crisis, and we are asking them, hey, what's going on? What's wrong? What can I help with? They don't have answers for us. Just like we wouldn't have answers for people asking us that if we're in a state where the anger has taken over. So we need to remember that. We need to remember that those conversations are probably not going to go anywhere. We need to let the anger run its course and then have those conversations later. And that's okay, because once we're able to have those conversations, now we can work towards less anger in the future, or getting control of the anger before the anger gets control of us. Because anger is normal. Everybody feels angry. That's okay. We just want to be in control when we feel angry. So, we talked about the fact that we want to have control of our anger, right? When we feel angry, that anger came from one of those primary emotions and has occurred because something needs to change. If we're at the red light, we want that person to stop honking, right? Or we want there to not be a police officer, or we want there to not be a sign that says we can't turn on red, or we want to have more money so that we can afford tickets. And, maybe if there's no cars coming, we're okay with breaking a little law and turning at the light if we can afford the ticket, right? Who knows? But something about the situation needs to change. That's what our anger is telling us. At the grocery store, something needs to change, right? We want the child to stop screaming or yelling, or we want people to stop staring and be better at understanding our situation, right? We want something to change. So if we control the anger, we can look for that positive change. Change is a good thing, right? In a situation like this, change is good. Think about, let's say we are angry because there's a politician doing things that we don't agree with. We want something to change. If we let that anger take control, we as individuals, we don't have complete control over that situation. We can vote, there's things we can do, we can be vocal about our thoughts and our priorities, and that's all great. But if that anger takes control of us, we're not going to be able to successfully do those things. We're probably going to say things that come from just the anger talking, right? Because we don't have control over it, and it might turn some people away. It might make us look like we're not fighting a good fight when we are trying to fight a good fight, if that makes sense, right? Something needs to change, and if we control the anger, we can get that positive change in a positive manner, and that's what we're really looking for. That's what our clients are looking for. That's what our children are looking for, right? They want us to understand, but they don't know the words. They don't have the tools to explain that to us. All they know is angry because they haven't learned those other skills yet, and that's our job, to help them learn those skills, to teach them those skills, to teach them how to connect their emotions to what's happening, their emotions to how their body responds. So that brings us here, right? That brings us to the fact that we are role models. We are role models for our children. We are role models for our clients. We are role models for those people at the grocery store who have maybe never worked with a child, right? We are role models. And as a role model, we need to remember that everybody gets angry sometimes. So as a role model, we're not trying to block anger from ever occurring, or we're trying to be this, emotionally free robot that gets through the day without ever being knocked off course, without ever having an emotional response to everything. That's not reality, right? reality is that we are a role model who feels emotions. And it is a good thing to show others when we feel emotions, especially our children, our clients, because that's how they learn. They're watching us. If we can show them a situation that makes us angry, but we stay in control of that anger and show them how we can work for positive change, that's huge, right? Even just labeling our emotions for them. Depending on where our client or child is developmentally, we might still be at a place of just simply labeling our emotions, putting a name to it, right? When I'm smiling, look at this smiling flashcard, right? Happy. We might be there. Point to happy, right? Maybe we're showing a frowny face and a smiley face and we're just pointing. Maybe that's what we're working on. And so if we can identify, look at mommy, what's mommy feeling? Happy. Yeah, I'm happy, yay, right? Good job. Or mommy's sad. Mommy's angry. Mommy is embarrassed, right? All those things are great skills to teach. We want to be a safe shelter, right? So we want to show that anger is okay. We don't want people to feel shameful for getting angry. We don't want ourselves to be shameful for feeling angry. We just want to talk about how we want to be in control of the anger. That's what we want to talk about. And every now and then, it's not going to work. Every now and then, the anger is going to be too strong and it's going to take over and we're not going to have control of it. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what maybe we could do next time. We're going to talk about it for ourselves and we're going to talk about it for our children and our clients. And that's okay, right? That's what we're going for. That's how we learn. That's how we move on. We want to help to facilitate that change. We want to help facilitate changes to help us avoid the anger, right? What is it that our anger wanted to change? We want to teach positive ways to request it. Instead of screaming about the mac and cheese, let's have a conversation about it, right? Maybe we can have a conversation about, well, I'm really sorry, buddy, but, you can't have milk. It upsets your tummy, makes you really sick. But I know you really like Paw Patrol. I bet there's some Paw Patrol fruit snacks or maybe some Paw Patrol, I don't know, something else, cookies or cereal, right? Or maybe we'll just make sure that we watch Paw Patrol when we get home. I know it was disappointing that you can't have this, but let's watch it, right? Let's go home and watch Paw Patrol. Let's see what Chase is up to today, right? Marshall. We can have those conversations and we can teach those skills, but we have to be a role model first. They have to see us do it. They have to see us connect the primary emotions with the secondary emotions. It's also important to talk about the emotion that led to the anger, right? Because the interventions are going to be a little bit different. The coping skills to deal with it are going to be a little different. I'm not going to use the same coping skills if I'm experiencing grief or loss as I'm going to use if I'm embarrassed. Both of those things might lead me to anger, but how I handle it is going to look different. So we have to talk about the primary emotion. We have to target the primary emotion so that we're using the right skills, so that we're using the right strategies, so we're having the right conversations. And maybe we're at a place where we're simply labeling. We're just learning labels, and that's okay. That's where everybody has to start. So wrapping this all up, bringing it all together, okay? First and foremost, you're doing a good job, okay? I don't care if there's somebody around you telling you you're not. I don't care if your brain is telling you you're not. I don't care if you feel like you aren't. I don't care if it feels like you're having more failures than successes in what you're doing. None of that matters. This is hard. This is challenging, okay? You're doing your best, and that's what matters. Keep it up. Just the fact that you watched this video says that you care and that you want to do all of the best for your child or your client. And that's what matters. We're going to remember that anger is not a primary emotion. Anger came from something else, right? And we're going to attach our de-escalation strategies and our coping skills to whatever that was. We're going to talk about those primary emotions with our clients. When we see that our child has been angry or our client has been angry, we're going to talk to them about what got them there. And in order to talk to them about it, we have to do it with ourselves, right? And we're going to talk about how to get control of the anger before the anger gets control of us. We're going to talk about how our body feels when we're starting to get angry so that we can identify it and we know about it and we can get control of it. And then we're halfway there. Once we're able to have those conversations, once we're able to identify those things, that's half the battle. Awesome. All right. Keep your head up. You're doing a great job. And I hope you enjoyed this.